expression session there, I think. Thanks for sharing, Lane and Lynn. So we're going to dive into our email for today, the daily quote, and there's some teaching related to it, which will lead us nicely into our lesson. So let's jump into all of this. Share my screen with you. Give me a moment. So it's taking a bit longer than I thought. Getting there. Okay, so share the screen. Okay, and all right, so there we are. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynn, if you can read that headline quote to kick it off from Winston Churchill, please.
It is a mistake to look too far ahead. Only one link of the chain of destiny can be handled at a time. True story. Hence Diet Coke and not the sugar.
Yeah, exactly. One step at a time is really what you're saying.
Don't want to sabotage. I want to get the one thing done and then I can go on to the next.
Yeah, exactly. One link of the chain of destiny. So chains we normally think of as some kind of bondage, but he's talking about a chain as linkages. It's the connecting. You look at the chain and it's like, well, one thing connects to another. So a chain is also a symbol of unity.
Yeah.
It's everything's interlinked with everything else. And so the chain becomes strong. The chain is only as strong as its weakest link idea. So one moment at a time, being present moment by moment, is how your destiny unfolds. That's what he's saying, in the now. So you're not actually focused on your destiny. You're going, well, what's my destiny? Tell me, Holy Spirit, what's my destiny? You're actually like, okay, well, what do I feel called to do now? And I will listen to that and honor that and give it my full attention.
I used to plan years ahead.
Energy. Yeah.
I don't now.
Because it's pointless.
Yeah, it is pointless.
How can you possibly plan years ahead? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
No, it's crazy.
John Lennon expressed that well. He said, life happens while you're making other plans.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it does. Like you make all these plans. Did you ever look at that ridiculous goal setting methodology where they'd say, okay, so what's your 10-year goal?
Yeah, hated it.
And then they'd say, okay, we'll break that down into a 5-year goal and then a 3-year goal and then 2 years and then 1 year and then 6 months and then 3 months. And if you follow that, you'll get there. And then you try it and you go, but this just really doesn't work. I just feel like a complete failure because I set all kinds of goals and then you review your goals at the end of the year and you go, well, I haven't achieved any of them or very few of them. Because that's, the ego, that's the way the ego works. It's always future focused.
Unless it's stuff you're aligned with, then it happens.
Yeah. But then it just happens. It's like, well, I'm guided. It feels right. I follow the guidance. And so moment by moment, my destiny unfolds. And if I'm tapping into guidance, then I'll know what to do at the time. So it's much more responsive, much more spontaneous to what life brings you, much, much more realistic. About like, oh, well, how can you possibly plan 20 years ahead? It's not possible. No one can. At the most, you can look a month or two ahead, really. You might have some kind of vision for the future, but you go, okay, well, that's a kind of high level idea. It's a vision, but like the rubber meets the road moment by moment in my daily life. This is what he's saying with this quote. So it's actually quite a succinct summary of the teachings in A Course in Miracles on how to find your destiny or higher purpose, or in the light of the quote, how to let it find you one moment at a time, each moment being a link in the chain, which again shows that truth is both universal and timeless. So if you've ever been hiking, you probably had the experience of looking too far ahead when you're walking and then tripping over something because you weren't focused on the path immediately before you. Yeah, I can imagine you like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, it can be
Common.
bad.
It's
It's
a
not a
common
good thing to
experience we've all
do.
had because you weren't focused, in that moment on like what was immediately before you. So we face the same risk. All very well having a vision. You might go, well, I'm climbing a mountain. Great, I know where the mountain is. Every now and then I need to kind of look up and make sure I'm on track. But if I'm not focused on each step, I'm not going to get there, am I?
I know people that have fallen into water with all their cameras and lenses in their hands and on their back.
Really?
And not me.
Because they were too, oh, look there.
Yeah,
And
splash.
that's a classic example of not being in the now. And then it
Yes.
sabotages the whole, the whole mission and the whole purpose, because you weren't focused in the moment. So the vision is all well and good, and you can bear that in mind. But if you're not focusing moment by moment, then inevitably that's going to be a problem. You're gonna probably trip up at some point. And the chain, the chain analogy, that's the weakest link in the chain. So you might have had a vision to be this, amazing photographer. You want to be world famous and all this, but then you forget to watch your step and you fall down and you break a leg and your equipment's damaged, and that's a major downer on that whole vision.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, in your analogy, that's what could happen. So we face the same risk. The risk in life is that we don't focus our attention on the current step and just be moment by moment, be fully present moment by moment. In fact, one Zen master defines Zen as just doing one thing at a time, the art of doing one thing at a time. That's how he defined the whole of Zen. So if you can just focus on that thing that you're doing in that moment fully, that's Zen in action, Zen Buddhism in action.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then there's still some training needed. Like, well, my mind is still a bit scattered and split, and I can't be fully present because I've got all sorts of other things going on. Then that's the need for practice to be able to be fully present. So this focus on each step you're taking is particularly important in difficult times in your life, when everything seems confused and confusing, and the future a dark and foreboding menace in your mind. The best way to get through such times is to shine the light of your higher awareness through the dark cloud of fear. Well, how does that work? Sounds really good. Shine the light of my higher awareness. Yes. Okay, so how does that actually work in practice? You focus all your attention on the step in your life that you're currently taking. So in other words, whatever you're currently doing, that's where you are. That's 100% of your focus and attention. And you might go, well, how do I do this when my mind is worrying so much about the future? And that's where spiritual practice comes in. So I've given you a bonus session here where we talked about breath work and being present. What the breath does is it's a tool to bring you into present moment awareness and just focus on right here, right now, isn't it? Because if you can do that, and you can be present to the breath, then you can be present to other things, can't you? And so even if you can't do that all the time, as Kim was saying in the session, you can actually do it as much as you can and keep bringing yourself back to the present moment through the breath.
Yeah.
As much as you can remember to, and that's your practice. What the ego wants you to do is say, oh, well, it's no good. You can't do any of this. So give it all up. Don't do it. Don't do anything. Go back to Diet Coke or whatever else that then there's a substitute.
Mm.
Do what you can. Do what you can. It's never going to be perfect. You're never going to do it absolutely perfectly. No one's ever done A Course in Miracles perfectly. Not possible. Do every lesson on time. So give up on that. Go, no, I'm going to do it as well as I can do it moment by moment. And that's the chain of destiny unfolding. Just the willingness to do that. And we talked about worry. Interestingly, this idea of what does worry do? Is it takes you out of the moment very effectively, which is why the ego loves it. Because if I'm worrying, I'm not present to the here and now. And if I'm not present, then I'm likely to sabotage things, which will increase my worry that I'm not going to cope. And so it goes. Whereas if you're fully present now and you say, well, moment by moment, I'm okay. Guide me, show me. Like, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What do I need to say? Holy Spirit, you're in charge. Then there's nothing to worry about, because moment by moment, I can manage. I can cope.
Yes.
Whereas if you're worrying continuously, you sabotage that. You're not in the moment. You're not present. You're going 10 links down the chain, aren't you? And going, well, I'm worrying about that link when actually I'm here. So I need to just not worry about. I just need to be focused on the current step, this link in the chain. And then that one, 10 links down, will take care of itself.
But you soon get a stop, don't you? Because if you start really worrying about something, you make it happen, or you make something else negative happen, you get really clear signs. So that's, if it ever gets that bad, eventually I'll reel myself back. But mostly I can do it before then.
Yeah. Just realize that any worry, so you're fearful about the future, is pointless. It's not going to do anything. You might feel inspired to take action to correct something. That's different. You're not worrying. You're just like, okay, well, yeah, I feel like that's right. I'll take some action. I'll do something. Some people, who want to justify worry say, well, I wouldn't do anything if I wasn't worried. You heard that argument, but that's not the case. If you're really guided by the Spirit, you can take very effective action without worry. It'll just tell you to do that. It's okay.
Yeah.
Do that.
What's been coming into my head is that perhaps I've got a gap coming up in July, August. Perhaps I should actually just book some of that out now to come back to see my mum, and then there's no issue anyway.
Yeah.
I've just been leaving it open to see if I got a booking, but actually, no.
Yeah.
I think I might.
So then you get the guidance and you take the action. Okay, book it then. You take the action. There's nothing to worry about. You'll get the guidance whenever you need it. This is what this whole teaching is about. If you need a word, says Yeshua, you'll get a word. If you need an action, you'll get an action. If you need just a peace and an open, tranquil mind, and these are the gifts that you'll receive. This is the final lesson of the course. That is saying, well, whenever you need it, you'll be given it, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
And that's really what walking this path means. You're not worried. So that's the first symptom of enlightenment in the Vedanta, which is one of the 6 schools of Hindu philosophy. So going way back, Vedanta goes back thousands of years, based on the Vedas, which are the most ancient teachings of India. So this is like spiritual source, really. In this world, the Vedas are like the oldest recorded spiritual teachings on the planet. And the first symptom of an enlightened mind is a lack of worry, an unworried state. No worries. You just, don't worry, be happy. Bobby McFerrin, which is why that was a smash hit song, because he's just speaking. That's just the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't worry, be happy. Yeah. The only way you're ever going to be happy is if you don't worry. So this is one of the 2 symptoms of enlightenment. So Elaine, if you can read this, according to Vedanta.
According to Vedanta, there are only 2 symptoms of enlightenment, just 2 indications that a transformation is taking place within you toward a higher consciousness. The first symptom is that you stop worrying. Things don't bother you anymore. You become light-hearted and full of joy. The second symptom is that you encounter more and more meaningful coincidences in your life, more and more synchronicities, and this accelerates to the point where you actually experience the miraculous.
Yeah. So there are these two symbols. The first one is a lack of worry, because you got to start there. If your mind is consumed with worry, then you can't be open to the synchronicities and the miracles. But if you can get into this unworried state and just be free and lighthearted, then you open yourself to these miraculous synchronicities happening. And they do happen. They accelerate to the point where you actually experience the miraculous, which is why he calls it A Course in Miracles. But first, you must become unworried. And the only way to do that is to let go of your ego's expectations and its grievances. If you hold on to those, there's no way you can become unworried, and then you're not open to the miracles. So these teachings, these very ancient teachings, completely align with what the Course is saying, which is why the Bill Thetford, who's one of the Course scribes, said that the Course is just the Christian form of the Vedanta. It's like the Christian Vedanta, because it's teaching the same thing. It's ancient wisdom, but just now in a modern framework with modern psychological concepts thrown in, to the mix. Along with the Christian terminology, that goes back 2,000 years. So it's kind of an interesting mix, really. What we do in the translations is really just strip away that Christian terminology so that it can be more contemporary. So you can go, okay, well, let's just strip away all of that and just talk about, use pointers to these ideas and concepts that are accurate and free of any of that baggage, which is why the translations work. So this is because worrying takes your awareness. The reason why we experience more synchronicities and miracles is because worrying takes your awareness away from the present moment and makes both the past and the future real in your mind. So it attaches you to the timeline the ego has invented, and it blocks your awareness of the now. And the timeline looks like this. So what's the ego always trying to do? It's trying to get you to focus on the past, on your timeline, past experiences, or the future experiences yet to come. And in that process, it denies the moment. And only in the moment can you access pure formless awareness of perfect love. You can't experience it if your mind's rooted in the past or the future. So the past and the future are a defense against the truth that your true awareness is right here, right now. That's why worry and past association, things like resentment, bitterness, grievances, are universally in spiritual teachings are we have to let them go. They're saying that these don't align with the spirit because they block your awareness of your true awareness right now, which is only available now. If your mind is busy with these things, you can never experience it. Okay, so yes, you're saying to us in yesterday's reading, time and eternity was called. Now is the closest approximation of eternity. Do you want to read that? I think it's Lynn's turn.
Yeah.
Please read that quote.
Now is the closest approximation of eternity that this world offers. It is in the reality of now, without past or future, that the beginning of the appreciation of eternity lies. For only now is here, and only now presents the opportunities for the holy encounters in which salvation can be found.
Be here now. It's such a simple message, isn't it? And yet it's so profound because we spend our whole life in the past or the future. I remember when I first read Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now. I read a chapter of it because it was given as a freebie by someone who was sending out daily emails. I read a chapter and it was like, didn't really penetrate. It was like, well, okay, whatever, because I wasn't ready for it. And then, I don't know, a year or two later, maybe a year later, I'd obviously progressed. And I remember reading it and I was like, excuse my French, but this is what I thought. Holy shit, actually, what he's saying is completely mind-blowing. Because I've actually been in the future my entire life. And what he's saying is that the reality is only here now. And I've missed that my entire life because I've been always thinking about the future. Where am I going next? I wanted to be a world champion squash player. And it was all future focused. Never now. Like, wow, like I've been completely asleep. I realized it was a revelatory because it was so fundamental to my experience, daily, moment by moment. Which it is, true spiritual truth is that profound. It's like, my God, I've been missing my life my entire life because I've been in the future, and the future doesn't even exist. It's just a thought.
And then did you start noticing all the synchronicities from then on?
Yeah,
that's the difference, isn't it? We get such great reminders that, all right, this is right now. I'm on the right path.
Yeah, exactly. Then you start on a different track, and you start getting the signs of that, and you're going, oh my God, I've been totally asleep. I didn't know any of this even existed. But now I'm experiencing it, and you can't deny the experience. This is the whole path. The ego can't deny that experience. If you've had that experience, it can't say, oh, well, that experience didn't really happen, or it's all illusion, because I experienced it, and I know from my own experience that was valuable, that made me feel happy, connected, fulfilled. And so it's going to do everything it can to try and stop you from having that experience. Because even one experience like this of being fully present and in the now can be life-changing. Because you go, well, like I get it because I've experienced it. And this is the closest approximation of eternity in this world. That's very profound. The only way you're going to get back to eternity is now. Because eternity is always there. So obviously it must be now. That the now is the only thing that's permanent in this world. It's sort of self-evident. It should be obvious, shouldn't it? And yet for most people this is Greek. They don't get it. They don't. If you said this to your friend, Sally, Elaine, she'd be like, "You're talking Greek. I don't get it. No, it's just not comprehending." So worry is just another part of the death wish, that is the ego or belief in separation, because worrying continuously keeps your mind bound to time, which always leads to death in the end. By contrast, the Holy Spirit, or remembrance of perfect love or oneness, which remembers eternity, only operates in the now in this world, helps you to let go of your worries, allowing your natural state of joy to arise spontaneously in your mind and guide your thoughts, words, and actions. So if we go back to this briefly, timeline, in the moment, the Holy Spirit operates in the moment. It's the blue arrow. The ego comes in with its worry and says, oh, you've had some trauma, loss of a job, death of a parent, etc., and now worry about the future. And it tries to take you out of the now. And the Holy Spirit says, drop that, forget that, and just go into your beingness right now. You can access that right now, and in that state, you can be peaceful and happy right now. That's what letting go means. And then from that experience, because that's why it's a double-sided arrow, you can then come back down into the world of form, and you can perceive whatever situation differently, and you can get guidance accordingly. And that's what it means to be guided by your higher self, or Christ. From this surrendered, peaceful state, you get the guidance, which tells you what to do. Form. It says, okay, go there, do that, say that, based on that, on this awareness. If you never go into this awareness because your mind is consumed with the past and the future, then you can't get that guidance. It's as simple as that. and then the ego is in charge of the journey. And as he says, it's a long, cruel journey, because such it is. That's the ego's design. It wants you to make you suffer, get sick, age, and eventually die. That's its objective. Well, if you take it as your guide, then that's what you're going to experience. This fortune is saying, well, you don't have to do that. There's another way of perceiving this, if you choose to. But because joy is an emotion that powerfully and positively affects the quantum field in which we all seem to live, an unworried, joyful state of mind leads directly to the second indicator that a fundamental transformation of mind is happening in a person. That more and more meaningful coincidences, what Carl Jung called synchronicities, he in fact coined the term. He made it up and it came into the English language because of him. It was a synchronicity, he called it. Course in Miracles calls them miracles. Start happening in your life. Things just connect. The dots connect. The links in the chain connect. That's what the chain of destiny is. One synchronicity, one miracle at a time becomes your chain of destiny, which if you follow it will take you to your ultimate destination, which is awakening, moment by moment. So, from this one quote, very profound. There's a whole, spiritual teaching of truth that comes from understanding these quotes at the deepest level, which is why we explore them. That was a good session, if I recall. And what we did in the session was a practical exercise to help Bali and Kim, who were doing it, to listen to their guidance. So let's do that now, shall we? We'll just do a 5-minute practice of this, so that you can get an idea, an experience rather than an idea of what it feels like to be in the spirit versus being in the ego. Okay, so should we do that now?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to record this. Okay, so just make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. If there's anything that's bothering you, any mental or emotional static, I call it, just observe it and be willing to let it go with your breath. Just go, this doesn't serve me. I'm willing to let it go and release it. Going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Just let it go. And just rest in this only peaceful, calm, relaxed state of mind. Your mind is empty and clear and open. Breathe in and breathe out. In and out through the nose. Get into a nice rhythmical pattern. Find your mind just quieting. Calmness comes over you. So now bring to mind a situation where you felt some kind of inner guidance. Call it an inner nudge. There was a persistent urge. Something that just said, you need to go there, say something, do something. And you denied it for whatever reason. Usually the voice of reason, your rational mind said, no, that doesn't really make sense, so I'm not going to do that. And you overrode it with your reasoning. But something in you was telling you that, this was correct. This was the right thing to say or do. So now, just as you breathe in, allow yourself to re-experience the entire situation. Just go into that experience. The feeling might help you to imagine what you were touching and tasting at the time, smelling, hearing, seeing. Just bring in your 5 physical senses into the experience. And really re-experience this feeling. When you denied it, what happened? Immediately, and what happened? Maybe it took some time for the consequences to play out, but go into the consequences and re-experience it now, fully. With all the emotions that went along with it, the thoughts and emotions. If it was painful, ask yourself what happened. Was there pain? Was there suffering? Just allow yourself to really go into this feeling for a few moments. And just from an independent, objective point of view, just ask yourself how it turned out. Was this a good outcome? Did you feel happy, peaceful, loving, and joyful? What was the outcome on the level of form? Did that help you or others? Did it benefit you? Or was it a seeming loss? Did you lose something? Did it get taken away? And just once you've experienced this fully, just take another nice deep breath in. Observe all that energy. Imagine you breathing in light and you're just going to release it. Darkness gives way to light. Releases darkness like a dark cloud or a black smoke. It's leaving you out of your body, out of your energy system. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. So now, as you breathe in and out through your nose, again, nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths in and out through the nose. When you know nowhere else to go or nothing else to do, just go through this process. So imagine now a situation in which you felt the same kind of inner nudge, some kind of persistent urge, persistent call, but you listened to it. May not have made rational sense. Often that's a hallmark of these things. It doesn't make rational sense. But for whatever reason, you listen to it. So just again, re-experience the consequences. Take yourself back there visually. Notice what was happening, what you were doing. So really get into the experience, thinking the thoughts, feeling the emotions, breathing that all in fully for a few moments, and reflect on this experience. You keep breathing in and out through your nose, observe the breath. Ask yourself how that worked out. Did the situation work out well for you or for other people in a way that you couldn't have planned or predicted? What was that? How did it make you feel? One of the hallmarks of a genuine miracle or correction is that it happens without your conscious intentional planning. Without your conscious intentional planning, when you choose to listen to your intuition, which is just a remembrance of perfect love or oneness, that is really always there guiding you to have experiences that lead you to a greater awareness of oneness or love. So when you fully immerse yourself in this experience, And breathe that all in, embrace it, notice how it feels. Was it a good outcome? Ask yourself what you learned from both experiences and how you might have spoken or acted differently in the situation where you denied your intuition in favor of the ego's so-called reason. What could you have done differently in the first situation? Just allow that guidance to come, because that's the whole point of the exercise, to sharpen your discernment between the Holy Spirit and the ego. If you can tell the difference between them clearly, then you can make the right choice for the Holy Spirit, not the ego. But if you don't know what's what, it's like you're going to get confused and make the wrong choice. So like clarity is so important. Getting into a clear, aware state, vitally important to practicing this course. Taking one more deep breath in, just embrace this lesson. Internalize whatever guidance you got from it so that you can hold this guidance and let this guidance be part of your ongoing thought system. Now, when you're ready, just gently open your eyes, ground yourself back. And if you'd like to share anything from the experience, then please do. So, did you find anything came up? Did you get any clear guidance? Did you, most importantly, were you able to discern the difference between the Holy Spirit and the ego from that exercise? Elaine, you're muted.
Yeah, no, I can't tell the difference. Yes, sorry, I did actually have a little doze. Sorry.
That's okay.
I do that all the time, don't I?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just really try not to then.
Yeah. Did you find there was a significant difference?
Elaine, you talk
No.
for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think I generally do know. I generally can feel the difference. The only one I could think of was like the Diet Coke thing, really. It's not the ideal one, but
Yeah.
I'd been hearing the voice in my head saying, it's that Diet Coke that's making your body stiff. I'd heard it over and over and over and over and over again. And I kept ignoring it, and my body just got worse and worse and worse. I was like, no, it can't be that. It can't be that. And then I just got to that point where it's like, this is awful. You know, my body's hurting so much. I'm gonna listen to that voice.
Yeah, exactly.
And I carry on listening to it. So
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I heard today that voice say, you know, you just book another week to come back and see mum.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to worry about anyway. So it's just
Yeah.
little things to help you along the way. But I think I can feel it.
Mm.
Not always, not always. You know, sometimes I choose to ignore it, and you know.
Yeah, it's learning. You know, a big part of this learning is to learn what that voice is like for you.
Yeah.
What is it? Does it speak in words to you? Is it just an impulse? Is it just a feeling? You know, how does the Holy Spirit work for you? Because if you know
I
that,
think I get an actual thought that's like words.
yeah, yeah,
I've heard actual words sometimes in that in between time, in between when you're like, you can't tell if you're awake or asleep. I used to get
yeah,
a whole like sentence that almost was like a different voice.
Yeah.
Because often it's just my own, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so in the past, things like that have been clearer. But I was meditating more back then. I just can't
Yeah.
do it at the moment without falling asleep. But again, maybe as my body, it's
Yeah.
like clear out a bit, and get
Yeah.
clearer, my connection with meditation, because I just fall asleep. I'm tired. I've been tired all the time. I'm not so tired now.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
even
Yeah.
that's a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. So another defense against the truth is the ego putting you to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, I just go to sleep, and so that you don't get into this heightened awareness of meditation.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's definitely worth cultivating, and whenever you have an experience of being in alignment or out of alignment, notice that, because it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Good reminder.
Yeah, and that's a little exercise. I've sent you that recording, so a little exercise you can do if you want to gain, just to mind you, the clearer you get, the better. It's like, okay, I know the difference. What do the voices feel like? What do they sound like? If I can determine the difference, then I can find guidance. I can always find guidance. I can always be helped because I know the difference between the voices. But if I get confused, then I'm likely to choose the ego, because confusion is its game, the name of its game.
Oh, that's really weird. Yeah, I just realized that because, yeah, when I'm making the decision, like if I was going to have another Diet Coke, that's a thought I'm creating and I know I'm creating it.
Yeah.
But the other ones come when I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll be like,
exactly.
shall I have a Diet Coke? Shall I not? Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a Diet Coke because I really want one. and
Yeah.
then and then it's the other voice that says,
Yeah.
stop drinking Diet Coke because it's not doing you any good. And not in
Yeah.
those words, it's not
Yeah.
those words, but
Yeah.
it's like it'll be a very simple phrase. It'll be like,
Yeah.
what's causing,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
causing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And so there's these two distinct voices, and the one
yeah,
is me, what you've identified as me. Learn, and the character learn, with all the stuff that goes with learn, and the habits and the problems and the addictions and the expectations and the past and the future and the whole drama. And then most people in this world think that that voice is them. That's the delusion. They
yeah,
identify almost exclusively with that voice. They think that voice is them, and they act accordingly. That
yeah.
voice guides them to say and do things, and they think that's them, and then they wonder why their life's not working very well, and there's a lot of dysfunction, a lot of pain, and they blame other people. They blame the world. It's not my fault, but actually it's that voice that's the problem. I remember doing a retreat once, and this fairly young girl, she was 28 or something, and I was explaining this, and I said, that voice that's chattering away, and she said, hang on, you mean that voice is not me? I said, yeah, exactly. And she was like, wow, okay, that's pretty radical, because I thought that was me. I'm going, no, it's not you. That's the whole point. You are not that insane voice. You are the voice that underlies that voice. There's another voice. You just tune
I
out.
only got that today. I only got that today myself.
Yeah.
I knew it as
Yeah.
but like actually, yeah, that's the difference. You can see that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the ego. That's me,
Yeah.
my ego thinking that thought, and then there's the other, it's information, say, rather than thought. The
Yeah.
information comes in, and that's what's different.
It's like a download, isn't it?
Yeah,
Download this
yeah, it's coming in, and
awareness, and
it's not something you're creating. It's just
yeah,
coming in.
exactly. Yeah, it's not self-created.
Mm,
It's kind of coming, you have a sense of it's coming from somewhere else, some
yeah,
higher. It's not really outside of you. It's your own higher awareness, but it's not the little self. So it
yeah,
feels like something coming from somewhere above, which is why we have these analogies of, well, it's up there or down. There's either depth or height of analogies, because it feels different from the immediacy of your ego, just your ego's normal chattering away, saying, do this, don't do this, which is all self-created. It's coming from a higher or a deeper place. And it's to learn to listen to that, to go, no, that is my authentic self. That's who I really am. And if I follow that guidance, that's really going to help me. That's going to benefit me. The other voice is not really me. So if I follow it, I'm following a false self. Well, what else can I expect from a false self but illusory results, but false results which manifests as pain and suffering? That's how falsity plays itself out. And because that's the only way you're going to wake up, is if you have the pain, then it causes you to question that voice and go, maybe I've got it all wrong. Because I'm experiencing so much pain, maybe my guide is false. And there's a problem with the guidance system here. So I need to question that and ultimately let it go and listen to another guidance system. So it's very practical and immediate. This voice is trying to guide you all the time. It's one of the two voices that's trying to guide you. Which will you listen to is the question. And this is a course in training your mind to listen to the right voice, the Holy Spirit's voice, rather than the ego's voice, which is your true self, which is the Christ in you. Simple as that, but not so simple, because if that other voice is chattering away and you're so used to that, you think that's you until you start doing these kinds of practices and considering these ideas, and then you're giving the other voice a chance.
The difference is actually obvious, isn't it? Because how you're feeling, if you're feeling unhappy or fearful or stressed, it's the wrong voice you're listening to.
Yeah, exactly. Your emotional, it's not just the thoughts, it's the emotions that go with the thoughts that tells you. So if you're feeling stressed, you're feeling desperate, craving, anything that's really like a strong kind of energy.
Negative.
Yeah, but the ego can be very strong. But the Holy Spirit is strong, but in a different way. It's more subtle. It's more of like a persistent drip feed. It's just going to drip it in. And like, it's just reminding you, it doesn't go like, Lynn, absolutely, you craving not having Diet Coke. It doesn't tell you that. No. It just kind of drips it and says, no, that's not very good for you. So maybe you should stop it.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
Yeah, just kind of a subtle,
you know the truth.
You know the truth. It's subtle. It's more like, think of stalactites and stalagmites. It's just a subtle dripping through, right? And in one or two drips, it doesn't appear to do anything. But if it just keeps doing that, it builds these, amazing structures. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
Just dripping, dripping, dripping. And if you keep listening to that, it, will build your true self and a thought system that's of true integrity and power. And ultimately, that's going to take you home. Back to source. That's how powerful it is. But in the moment, it doesn't feel like, oh, wow, that's the most powerful thing in the world. No, it's just because it's so subtle and it's just quietly powerful. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Ego's like, desperate and it's fearful and it's angry and these overblown emotions. And it tells you that that's power, but it's not. It's actually a denial of your true power. And so, we need to learn to consistently tap in to that guidance, to the right voice. And here's the thing, it's not a theoretical exercise, is it? It's absolutely practical in your own experience. So you can study all the great texts and you can read A Course in Miracles until the cows come home. But until you're starting to have the experiences that teach you which is the right voice and which is not, you're not really getting it. It's all theoretical. That, in essence, is the difference between a theologian and a mystic. The mystic knows from their own experience, and the theologian knows concepts and ideas, but they haven't internalized it as their own experience. I know, Lynn, this will be meaningful for you because you've watched a lot of The Chosen. Think of the difference between Nicodemus and Jesus.
All the others, yeah.
All the others. He has the experience. He knows because he's experienced it. Nicodemus knows because he studied the Torah and he He has all this conceptual knowledge, but he doesn't really know because he hasn't experienced. And he's fascinated with Yeshua, even though he's half his age and is not, is not formally, doesn't have any power, because he has the experience, and he's demonstrated that by, performing the kinds of miracles. In Nicodemus' case, it was the healing of Mary Magdalene. He's like, how did you do that? Because I couldn't do that. He did it through a deep connected experience of spirit, which Nicodemus was lacking, and he knew he was missing it. That's the thing.
That's the thing with Nicodemus, though. He is different actually to the others because he sees the love in it. He sees the love in all the actions, but he still hasn't. His ego still stops him from joining in that love fully. He's right on the periphery, isn't he? Whereas all the others are like, well, most of the others are like crazy that way. But he's so on the in between. If he just stepped over,
so he's
it
willing
makes me
to
sad.
listen. He's willing to listen to an extent, but he doesn't want to go the whole way because his ego is stopping him. His ego still got its attachments to his importance as a spiritual leader, and all of that stuff that his wife then symbolizes.
Keeping up appearances.
Be very important, and appearances, and actually none of that means anything, and his higher self knows that, but he's still vacillating. He's caught in the in-between, as you say. It's like, yes, I want what Yeshua symbolizes, but I'm not willing to give my whole heart to that and become his disciple and follow him entirely, because that would mean I'd have to let go of too much else. And he doesn't want to do that.
Shame.
Whereas if, Yeshua's saying, let go of the ego completely and just follow me, because that's the only way. Follow my guidance and I'll show you the way home, because I know the way home, because I found the way home myself, because I've walked that path. So follow someone who's walked the path and can then show you the path. Don't follow someone who's still trying to figure it out themselves, ideally. So that's why we follow him, because it's like, well, okay, the credentials are impeccable. What he did, we're seeing it demonstrated now in the Chosen. What he did was amazing, just like no one's done that in human history. Those kinds of miracles and healings. There have been yogis with powers, no doubt, but no one quite did it the way he did it. I mean, raising the dead, like that's just like another level of that, the manifestation of that power. And resurrecting himself, he took it to an entirely different level. So his credentials are impeccable as any spiritual teachers are. And the only reason why he did that was to help us believe in it. It's like, it wasn't for the sake of, oh, aren't I so great? It was so that people could see the power and they would then accept the teachings for themselves and go, well, if he can do that, then I'll follow him and I'll give my life to the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So all
you've
good.
got to go, haven't you?
Yeah. I think we can probably do a session a bit later, as my whole family is about to arrive back, so it's going to be chaos. For at least an hour, but they are apparently leaving this evening. They're going back to Dorset, so I should have some time this evening, 7 o'clock, if that works.
I should be okay. Yeah.
I think I'll be all right for that.
We can do the lesson and the text then, if you like.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. Shall we reconvene then, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And we'll look at the lesson, and if we have stamina for it, the text as well. It's a good one, actually. This one is called The Two Emotions. Exactly what we're talking about. Of only two emotions. Yeah, it's 11 paragraphs. So I'll see if I can get John on board, actually. Although it's a Tuesday, I think he might have band practice. But I'll ask him if he wants to join.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
See you
you.
later.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.
No. All right, so that's a wrap for the moment. We'll be reconvening later. if you enjoyed the session, then please do go to lifebuild.com. You can see the spelling of that in my background, just lifebuild as it's spelled there.com, and sign up to receive some of the material that I sent you, the daily inspirational quote, along with the other kind of ideas and blog posts essentially around it, plus the daily lesson, which we're going to do a bit later. So head over to lifebuild.com, do that if you want to take another step in this guided direction. And you can also sign up to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll be notified whenever I go live. The next session will be in just over 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so. So you'll be prompted, if you're a subscriber, to join the live call, to tap into the live stream. Okay, so thanks very much for listening and watching, and I hope to meet you on the inside soon. Namaste. Well, which means the truth in me, the guided self in me acknowledges that same guided self in you. I'm wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that guided self. Namaste.